Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you all are doing well. And yeah, finally doing a second video for album rankings after what, almost nearly a year and a half. Yeah, I really wanted to do this like sometime last year, but yeah, for whatever reason, until now uh, haven't done one. And yeah, I mean, I was kind of expecting a different outcome from the first one as well, which was, the Ed Sheeran ranking video I did last year. But I mean, yeah, I know I shouldn't really expect like too crazy for numbers on my channel since it's kind of a small channel in a sense. Uh, Big to some, since I'm over 1,500 subscribers, but still kind of relatively small in a way as compared to all these other channels out there here on the platform. But yeah, after almost a year and a half, I said, yeah, I might as well hop into this, listen to their albums, and go from there. And yes, this does include their latest release, Love Is Like. I decided to wait until, it released in August to, listen to that album plus the rest of their, discography and that album into this video. So it is included in here. But yeah, continuing on, this should definitely be an interesting video. Just looking at Maroon 5's discography, I just find it surprising how this band started off so well in the 90s under the name Kara's Flowers, before having their name change and achieving mainstream success in the 2000s, and eventually, in my opinion, getting worse each album. If you guys have seen my reviews for their albums, Red Pill Blues and Jordy, then I'm not the biggest fan of those two albums. With their latest album, Love Is Like, I just felt it was a meh album overall, but for sure I'll get into it a little bit more in this video, and also, hopefully, if and when I do an album review of Love Is Like. But anyways, with this extended intro, let's go ahead and hop right into it. So, kicking us off at number 8, I have Jory as their worst album to date, with this album being 4 at the time of this recording. I'm still not the biggest fan of the album 4 years later, which shouldn't be a big surprise. I remember listening to this album back in 2021, hoping it'd be halfway decent, but I was proven wrong very quickly. I feel like I expressed my thoughts somewhat decently in my review I did at that time, and yeah, I feel like I'm gonna hit on a little bit of that real quick to kind of recap in a sense. To be honest, I feel this album is heavily, and I mean heavily, dependent on features, even including the bonus tracks on the deluxe edition. It seems like almost every track on the album has a feature or two on them. I feel the features sound the best on the tracks, even if I feel some of the guest features don't have the best verses. On top of that, I feel it sucks that the album includes two posthumous features, being Juice World and Nipsey Hussle, who we end up getting on one of the bonus tracks, being of the Memories remix. It just feels like Adam isn't really trying on this album with his vocals. Sure, I feel there's times where I kind of like how he sounds, but for the rest of the album, it just doesn't really feel like him at all. As for lyrics, I feel like a lot of them are just, generic. There doesn't seem like there's any appeal to them that make me remember a specific track. I feel the majority of the track list sounds the same with how they even sound. I don't feel the album gets much from production. It doesn't really feel like it sounds like a band at all. To me, it just feels like Adam and a set of producers sitting there just like thinking what would sound cool, but everything ends up sounding so generic and watered down. I would honestly rather hook a Carberry up to my nuts to get some sort of mental stimulation rather than listen to this album. I feel it sucks when the features seem to be better than the band itself. Uh, Even if some of the features may not have been the best feature to have on the track, I still they overcame and did like a better performance on these tracks than the band in general. So yeah, there's that. Now, at number 7, I have their latest release, Love is Like. I feel like it was a tie between this and Red Pill Blues for spot 7. I feel like I ended up going with this as I like Red Pill Blues just slightly better. I also feel this happens to be one of their weaker albums. Uh, Even with it, being their latest release, but hopefully over time I may like this album just slightly more. And yeah, this album even has their shortest track list, being 10 tracks on their uh, standard edition, and also has the shortest runtime, just being shy of half an hour on the standard edition. And yeah, opposed to every other album of theirs. For sure, it definitely feels like the band is back in some shape or form. It actually feels like a band in a way, as opposed to what it felt like Am Levine and some producers on their previous album, Jordy. Sure, it does feel like the instrumentals seem generic still on this album. As for vocals, I wasn't really like the biggest fan. There weren't really many tracks on this album that seems to be like totally appealing to me. Now, this album only has 3 features on the standard edition, which I feel they were all like hit and miss. As much as I do enjoy Lil Wayne, I don't feel he had the greatest verse on the title track, which is where he's featured on. I felt Sexy Red was an alright feature. I don't really mind her, but I always feel like she reminds me of Gucci Mane in a way, with like how nasally they sound. And yeah, to be honest, I really feel the band could have expanded on their sound and possibly experimented with something on this album. But yeah, as a whole, again, I just felt this whole album just sound like so generic uh, that I didn't feel like there was really much appeal to it. At number six, I have Red Pill Blues. I feel this is an alright album. I'm still not the biggest fan of this album. Over 8 years later, I feel there's a little more to this album as opposed to Love is Like. I feel this album seems to have a little more in depth with its instrumentals. I feel I didn't mind the album trying to add in like a little bit of R&B and funk and some other elements to the tracks. I feel this seems to be the last album that really shows off Adam's vocals in any sort of way, even if they start to sound like more bland and generic on this album. I feel he does sound alright throughout the album. I don't feel this album heavily depends on features like Jordy did, but I feel the features on this album aren't too bad, and we still end up, getting a decent amount of features both on the standard and deluxe editions of this album. I and to be honest, I feel there's enjoyable features on this album. I feel SZA is a decent feature. Even if it's mainly back and forth vocals with Adam Levine, then I feel I also enjoyed Lunch Money Lewis and ASAP Rocky on their respective tracks. As for tracks, I feel Closure could have been shortened, or at least, be like two separate tracks. I feel the track seems to drag out with this instrumental outro that starts at about the 3 minute mark. It really feels like some sort of elevator music, or at least something you'd have on in the background while you're doing something like around the house. I don't mind Wait. Sure, the band has better tracks out there than this, but I've always liked this track in a way. I just like the theme of trying to having this person wait for you to say what you're going to say. At number five, I have Five. So yeah, I'm just gonna call it Five and not, V like it's supposed to be called. Um, sure, there's tracks I don't mind, but at times I feel it kind of gets a little repetitive. I feel there's some uh, decent instrumentals on here. I feel there's some underrated tracks on this album, which I don't really feel many people talk about, even if you add in the features on the deluxe edition. I don't really mind Adam's vocals here. I feel he seems more fitting on some tracks rather than others. I feel underrated tracks on the album include Unkiss Me, Leaving California, In Your Pocket, and Coming Back for You. I feel each of these tracks stand out in their own way. I'm surprised these songs haven't gotten any popular over the past decade this album's been out. But yeah, I really enjoyed these tracks. I feel they all stood out to me in varying aspects, and yeah, I just felt like they all um, had a decent sound to them. At number four, I have Hands All Over. I don't think this was too bad of an album, with it being their third studio album. I feel this is the point where it starts taking a turn for towards the band's music. As seen so far, I'm not like the too crazy about their last two releases, but the uh, two releases before I kind of sort of like in a way. So yeah, there's that at least. I didn't feel this was a bad album overall, for sure. This is the start of their more pop sound. I did enjoy the inclusion of rock from their first two albums, but I didn't mind this being more of a straight on, like, pop album. With this album, they start to get more popular with collaboration tracks. Uh, Moves Like Jagger was a really popular track at the time of release. And yeah, that's their collaboration track with Christina Aguilera. Once this track, got popular, it seemed like Avril Lavigne would be featured on tracks, and pretty much every Maroon 5 album since then would contain collaboration tracks. I feel Adam had decent vocals on this album. I feel this is one of their last few albums. I like his sound. I found some of the lesser known songs enjoyable. I felt I enjoyed the sound and style of this album as a whole, even with varying parts. I feel there's some unique and standout tracks. At number three, I have Overexposed. I've always felt this has been one of my favorite albums of theirs, especially with how many times I've listened to this album over the past decade. When I first heard the album in full, so yeah, I first heard the album in full back in like 2015. So it's been a decade since I've listened to the album in full. Well, or at least I've been listening to it in full for a decade. But yeah, sure, this album does get repetitive with all the oohs, ahs, and yes throughout the lyrics, but I feel it does make for a decent album. To be honest, I feel this is their last decent album. I love the way each track sounded, even going into like the deluxe edition. I love the production. Sure, I'm a little iffy with some of the lyrics still, but I feel overall they aren't bad. The only feature on this album is Wiz Khalifa, and I don't necessarily think his verse is too bad on Payphone. Does it tie into the song somehow? Not really, but I still he comes in and comes out with a decent verse. Again, there are a lot of oohs, ahs, and yes throughout the album. Aside from those, I feel the lyrics for the majority of the track lists are memorable. I feel there are plenty of enjoyable tracks, even if the standard edition is only 12 tracks in length. Aside from the singles, I feel there's some underrated tracks for sure. I love Fortune Teller, The Man Who Never Lied, Tickets, and Beautiful Goodbye. If I could also include a track from the deluxe edition, it'd be Wipe Your Eyes. I love Fortune Teller from its more electronic instrumental. The lyrics seem about trying to be there for someone and essentially saying you don't know what all is going to happen. I love The Man Who Never Lied for its vocals. I love the way they sound on here. I felt the lyrics weren't bad either. The track seems to be about breaking up or nearing the end of a relationship. At number two, I have It Won't Be Soon Before Long. I've always felt this was a decent album and a great follow up to songs about Jane. I feel there's so many memorable moments about this album, and I loved how they say towards the rock and pop uh, sound with their tracks. I feel they turn more towards pop once we get back to, Hands All Over. Overall, I love the sound and production of the album. I feel it continues the same energy from Songs About Jane. I loved Adam's vocals on here. I feel he continues and hits strong on this track list. I feel each track is enjoyable from If I Never See Your Face Again to Won't Go Home Without You to Kiwi to the closing track, Figure It Out. Good Night has to be one of my favorite tracks off the album. I feel it sounds so good. It seems like a sad song as well. I love Adam's vocals here. I feel the track is about a breakup and hoping everything will be okay. And now the moment I'm sure you guys have been waiting for, and I don't really think this is much of a surprise. At number one, I have Songs About Jane. I feel this is such a great album, and one of their more silent albums. It captures this whole pop rock, and soft rock feel throughout its 46-minute runtime. I feel there's so much that feels good throughout the album, from the opening track to the closing track. Nearly 25 years later, and I still feel this album kicks ass. Uh, Hard to believe it's slowly coming up on 25 years. Yeah, 2027's. Uh, just slightly more than a year from now, the time this video gets out to you guys. But yeah, anyways, I feel it's such a great album, and especially for a debut album, it doesn't seem like there's many debut albums where every track, or at least the majority of the track list, sounds great. I feel that's exactly what this album is, to where the track list sounds great, and everything sounds so well together. And yeah, I really love Adam's vocals on here. I feel he did a great job throughout the album. I really don't have many complaints about the instrumentals. It seems like they go well with Adam's voice. I think there's decent concepts for the tracks, and it seems to flow through well from opening to closing. So yeah, there's that. But real quick, if I were to include the Fourth World under their name, Kira's Flowers, I feel like I will put this album between It Won't Be Soon Before Long and Songs About Jane. I really enjoyed that album, and felt it would be a great fit with their first two albums under their name Maroon 5. So yeah, there's that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know this is probably a lengthy video. At the time I get to edit this, it's probably gonna be like a 20-minute video, which I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, I know, again, I know I was wanting to try and do this video last year, but just ended up like never happening and falling through. Um, and to be honest, I was kind of hesitant on doing a second one since, the Ed Sheeran album ranking video never really got like many views and took off like the way I expected it to. But I figured I'd just hop into this and just do what I like to do on my channel, as it's always just been me on this channel, just making uh, decisions and doing what I enjoy. For sure, I would like to keep doing this like once every few months or so. I've enjoyed doing this for the two album rankings I've done so far. It just essentially comes down to timing. That's the only like downside of doing all of this. It varies by artists, but I spend the time listening to each album of theirs. Sometimes two or three times. Like if it's a release of theirs I have not heard before, or if it's like a release that's it's been like a while since I've listened to. Then after that, I write down like my thoughts and kind of like edit those and turn that into like something. And yeah, after that finally becomes this the recording and editing process. Um, then it's like by the time I finish that, again depending on how many albums that ours has, it could take anywhere from like you know 3 hours at minimum to at least to me it feels like up to like 12 hours in total. But I end up doing all over like a week or so by the time I actually get to listen to each album and whatnot. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Um, then yeah, if if this video does kind of sort of decent, I'll do another one here within a couple months or so. But the next one I'm gonna try and do is hopefully for the weekend. But if not, I'll try and do like an artist that currently has like 2, 3, or 4 studio albums out at the moment. So I don't feel like all this pressure and whatnot. Like just trying to get out a video, guys, and having it feel rushed, which I don't really want that to be. Well, till next time, guys.